It's a good Thursday night, Russ. We're doing another show. They didn't kick us off yet.
We're not fired yet, John.
I don't know if we can get fired. I guess there's a way we can do that. But hey, welcome to the Travel Ball Show. You got your host John Bennett with my fearless co-host Russ McCubbins. Russ, last week, we didn't get a chance to do the show in part due to the recent announcement of Coach Jeff Brom returning to the Ville. I was my feelings were hurt.
That we didn't get to go on,
That's
or that
right.
we didn't get to have our show and have Jeff come on with us.
You know what? I'm sure we'll get Jeff on here at some point. We know people that know people, right? But
maybe.
But the fact that we got bumped, it's a shot to the ego because we've got listeners, right? Our fans want to hear what we've got to say, right?
All 44 of them.
All 44 fans. I think we got 45 now, but so it's been a couple weeks. Welcome back. We got a fun slate tonight. In the past couple episodes, we've had different focuses, whether it be basketball, baseball, and what was our focus in the first one? Just to get through it.
We had the baseball travel ball dad guy.
That's right, Mark Paul.
Yeah, Mark Paul. That's right. I forgot his first name. That does all the Twitter and TikTok.
Yeah, MP3 baseball. He's all out there. So but my secret goal was just to get through it, and we did. So that's a great thing. So we're switching up sports every week, trying to diversify a little bit and bring information to the masses. The goal of the Travel Ball Show is to help parents navigate that youth travel journey, and hopefully we're doing some good things with that. But tonight's focus is going to be football, and there's a lot going on in the football world, so it kind of works out, right?
It's a good thing in this city right now, no doubt about it.
So before we get into all that, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Purnell's Old Folks Country Sausage. It's good. We really appreciate all they do for us, and they are the microphone sponsor now moving forward. So they're heavily involved, and get yourself some sausage. I know at the Bennett house, we're always eating some good sausage.
Because it's good.
It's good. And you know what? Mr. Purnell, so the president is Todd, and his dad, Al, actually was a big football player. And if you get to meet the man, he's a big man. And if you shake his hand, it's Big Bear Paw coming at you.
I would imagine so.
But he was a football player when he was younger. Really good, too.
Awesome.
So it's good that we're talking football tonight. And thanks to our sponsors, as well as the PPL, Pitching Performance Lab. Chad and those guys down in Lexington are doing some phenomenal things with helping youth athletes get better, bigger, stronger, faster, throw harder. Matter of fact, you can text in on the PPL text line, 502-437-9680, 502-437-9680, if you'd like to talk football this evening, or any comments, thoughts, concerns in general, make sure to text into the PPL text line. We've got some announcements coming up with the Christmas break around the corner. If you've got some youngins looking to get them busy, get them out of the house a little bit, there's a couple camps I wanted to talk about before we dive into the meat of the evening. At St. X High School, they've got a pitchers and catchers clinic on January 7th and 8th. That's about a month away, less than a month away. Pitchers and catchers clinic, January 7th and 8th. You can go to saintx.com, saintx.com for more information. And there's a hitting clinic coming up, and that's actually going to be this weekend, December 17th and 18th at 1 and 3:30. Again, you can go to saintx.com to get more information about those two clinics. But always good to give the kids something to do over the holidays, right?
You got it. School, I believe, is out in Jefferson County as of tomorrow for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So, parents are like, what the heck are you guys doing here? Let's get them out of here.
I wish there were camps for adults.
That'd be fun.
We need to come up with a camp. Actually, is it
How
called happy hour?
How about I put on a hitting clinic for ages 35 and over?
We gas up the machine.
I just made the cut. I'm 37. Just made the cut.
Well, let me introduce our guest this evening. That's a good transition. You heard the third person here. It's Cory Bosemer. I uncovered him. He's got a good presence on social, and he's doing some great things in this region as it pertains to letting people know more about what's happening in the football community in Kentucky. And Cory, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're talking all things football this evening, but the focus, of course, is youth football. And again, Russ and I don't know what we don't know. We know a lot about some things like football and softball and what have you, but the football scene is outside of our scope, isn't it, Russ?
A little bit, yeah. I think we would know just enough to carry on a nice, good conversation, but the ins and outs of it, that's going to be up to our esteemed guest this evening.
Now, you know, I play football. Russ.
Esteemed.
I believe no, John. I believe your brother played football.
My brother played
I think
football. He
you
was
had
better
a
than me.
uniform on, and you knew how to maybe put the pads on. But that's
I was pretty good, but my football career ended when I got hit so hard that my own snot was on my face mask, and I thought, you know what,
It's not worth it.
This doesn't happen in baseball. I'm sticking to baseball.
Hold on. TV timeout. It does if you're the catcher and you got a speeding train coming at you.
Oh man, let's focus on the safety aspect. But Cory, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Cory Bosemer. I run the social media football page on Facebook and Twitter, known as Football Kentucky DBA. It's a social media football page that I started 2018 of October. I was heavily involved in the youth football coaching aspect. Coached for 2.5, 3 years, and then just kind of got tired of coaching. I knew I was meant for more, and I knew personally I was meant to do more. You know, I'm still involved as far as speaking to the coaches and stuff like that, but I just knew my purpose as far as the sport of football and kids and helping was more. So I started a private page for youth football, and that's when the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we've talked about that another day, they had a youth division, subsided. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's how they found me, and then I knew I was on to something. And then I got tired of the way the politics were going with the private page.
Wait a minute, time out. Politics and youth sports, that doesn't happen.
No, never, guys, never. But I got tired of basically people telling me what to do and how to run my stuff when they're not doing nothing. So I said, screw this. It's going to be a public page. I'm going to start it from the ground up again. I deleted everything. I started, October of 2018 with 0 likes, 0 followers. And now I got it to almost 16,000 total likes and about 18,700 followers.
Well, there's definitely a need for the information, a repository, a central repository for all the stuff happening. And that's what I found is on that page, right? We've had the state high school football playoffs just happened, and a lot of good information happening around that. Tonight we're going to focus a little bit more so on the youth stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And go from there. But check them out on Facebook at Football of Kentucky DBA. A lot of good stuff out there if you've got a youth football player or looking to explore getting into that sport with your young one. Help me understand this, Cory. What's your take on the youth climate as it pertains to parents wanting their kids to go that contact football route?
Well, before we started, on air, we were talking, and I was telling you guys that tackle football in the state of Louisville, I don't know about a lot of other places, but it starts as young as 6U. 6U tackle. So in other states, you're not allowed to have full contact football till you're 10, 11, sometimes 12 years old. So you're basically starting tackle football middle school, 5th, 6th grade.
Okay.
Starting at 5th, 6th grade versus starting 6U is a big difference.
So Kentucky's unique in that fact.
I guess because
started earlier.
I know a lot of other places, cities and states do, but a lot of places are latching on to you're not starting to the 10, 12-year-old range, 5th, 6th grade. Whereas, like I said, Kentucky starts pre-K, kindergarten.
So is that illegal?
is that an attempt to prevent injury early on? Is it to try not to discourage? Because I may be 6 years old and catch one really, really hard in the shoulder and say, "Mommy, I ain't doing this no more." So, what do you think the reason why we start so early? Or the other ones don't start so early?
Well, for my personal opinion, as far as the ones that don't start early, I think that has to fall along the lines of when, surely the concussion stuff in the NFL really broaden the horizons as far as that goes.
Sure.
And that really didn't get brought out to the spectrum until Junior Seau committed suicide, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And that started from all the concussions he sustained in football. So I think parents hearing that probably scared them. And
I would
can you
agree.
blame them though about
No,
being scared? You know what I'm saying?
I would agree with that, and you got the rise of other sports,
Yeah.
Basketball, baseball, heck, lacrosse.
Those sports are now, I will say this before we get on to other stuff, those sports are more contact than people think and more contact than people will admit.
Understood.
It's not just football.
Understood. Yeah, you are seeing various alternatives a lot. I mean, we talked volleyball. We got some big things happening in volleyball tonight. The U of L women's
Shout out, hope they do it.
Louisville
City
women's.
deserves it.
Heck yeah, they do. They
Second
play-
year in a row, right? Final four?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we had the good fortune to see him live the other day at the Yum Center. What a great crowd. The city really got behind those young ladies. And we need another win tonight and another win on Saturday, bring it home. But they were 1 point away from losing, and they ended up bringing it all in. So it was really cool. But best of luck to those folks tonight. But you've got other sports like volleyball on the men's side, for example.
Brutal.
That, well,
It can be.
it's tough, but I say that it's non-contact, right? You got other options for kids today.
Oh, for sure.
Instead
more
of
than
football.
you did back when I was playing. You know, I'm only 37. I'm young, even though I'm older than some of the people I'm around now. I'm the old man, but like back then, you didn't have as many options as you do now.
Correct.
There's other avenues.
So you mentioned earlier, 6U is when they're starting. So some of these area travel teams, walk me through this. I got a kindergartner, first grader, and I want them to play football. Is there rec league options at that age? Or
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely there's the LYFL in the city of Louisville Youth Football League. I want to say that's where I coached. I got my start from the Derby City Cardinals. Give a shout out to my man Brian Pirtle. If honestly, if not getting my start in coaching youth football, not only would I not be sitting here with you guys right now, I wouldn't be doing Louisville games. I wouldn't be doing what I do. So I'm very thankful and fortunate and humbled to get my start with Derby City in the Louisville Youth Football League. You got the Louisville Youth Football League. You had the Metro that subsided, that collapsed. That's no longer really around. So some of the Metro teams went to the LYFL.
Do they have one central location where they play all their games on a particular day, or do they space it out amongst other high schools and middle schools?
So, like, I know it's like they space it out. I mean, you got over 20 teams in one league. It's 30. I know a couple of teams are leaving the league, and then another league just started last year called the River City Youth League.
Okay.
By my friend William Carney, who's a good, close personal friend of mine in the youth football world. So the LYFL isn't far away from having the same amount of teams as the NFL. I think like 5 to 6 teams away. You can almost run a youth league like the NFL does. You can even do their playoffs like it.
And this is 12U ages?
No, 6U to 13U.
A league.
That's what I'm saying, 12 and down.
Yeah, 12-ish, 13, depending on now, it just to follow along the lines of 12U mostly, but some kids 13U. Senior, they even got senior leagues now where you can be 14
So
14 playing.
When you say some teams are leaving, do you mean you mean you bring your own team into the league, or you sign up as a player and then there's a tryout and then you get drafted to teams? How it works?
So basically how it works now, it kind of works more or less the same way now than as it did when I was with Derby City, and then I went with the Louisville Broncos for a year and a half after Derby City. You post on social media just like everybody does, you tell people how you have open tryouts, come sign your kids up. Really for the youth team, the only tryouts is for travel teams, but as far as that, it's just sign-ups. Come sign up. If you want your kids to get coached up, come sign up. That's how it starts.
And so how do I know, or how does my son, or how do they get on a team? They don't go and do assessment day like I'm going to run or I'm going to throw, I'm going to get weight or whatever in that. Okay, so we got this many kids that are this amount, and then they get split up on teams to make the games even. So this is the baseball world that we come from.
Yeah.
That's how it kind of gets done. You sign up.
Mm-hmm.
They divvy the kids up to the teams, and then they see who wants to coach, get all that together. And so roughly, even though it never truly is,
Right.
the games are about as evenly matched as they can be.
Right.
Is that
So football's a little different.
Okay.
It's if you can get enough kids to play, you can have a team. If you can't,
so you can put your own team in a league?
oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you can bring your own. So what about, so let's go away from the leagues.
Okay.
And focus more so on the travel stuff,
Okay.
right? So you mentioned earlier that the city of Louisville has the Louisville Chargers, which recently won a big championship.
Yeah,
right?
they just the 11U Louisville Chargers. Shout out to Jackson Meads and Chris Faulkner, two of the coaches that I know personally, good guys. They've been coaching a long time in the city of Louisville, especially Jackson. Jackson's a part of historical teams in the youth league with Kurt Snow, whose son's the sophomore running back Michael Curry, now over at St. Xavier High School.
Mm-hmm.
I could spend a whole day talking about what they did with their kids, but yeah, the Louisville Chargers just won the 11U United Tykes national championship down in Florida.
That's pretty awesome. So you got the United Tykes down in Florida. What about Texas? You hear about Texas a lot as it pertains to
Texas, as far as
youth football.
That I know personally from the city of Louisville, really doesn't get. It's more like Florida. Like teams from here are normally going to like Florida, Indiana. Every now and then they'll go to Detroit. Like I think one of you guys mentioned that. As far as Texas goes, that's more along the lines of like middle school and high school.
Okay. So we've got these different circuits, right? And
Yeah.
Russ and I kind of always go back to the baseball side because that's what we know. And whether the tournament is in Atlanta, Indianapolis, Fort Myers, okay, we're going. That's fine. It just seems like there's fewer and fewer of these travel football teams.
Well, I think the issue is, you know, and it falls along the lines of what I was saying off air, guys, before we started. Coaches doing more than they almost would have to. You know, it falls along the lines of parent involvement. The biggest issue that I see personally, and the coaches that I talk to that I know, is fundraising. Fundraising is a major part.
I bet it is because I love seeing the YouTube videos where all these kids are clickety clack and they got the Under Armour, they got the Dodgers.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, that ain't cheap. So we got
Absolutely.
we got
You gotta get
fundraiser for
sponsors, too.
uniforms,
It's
and
everything.
sponsors.
Absolutely.
You know, that's an expensive sport at the end of the day. But I love seeing those videos. But they do look sharp sometimes.
So I have a question, maybe
Absolutely.
a little off what we're on, but
Don't matter.
so in a tournament, let's just say I'm a basketball team,
Gotcha.
and I'm going to a tournament.
Yeah.
Could be in who knows where, Cincinnati, could be in Indianapolis, wherever. I know my tournament is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe
Right.
as an out-of-town team, I might not play on Friday night like an in-town team might, right? Because I'm traveling to get
Yeah.
there. I stay in my hotel. We get up, whatever, crack it on. And we know we're going to have 3 games on Saturday. And if we do well in the bracket play, we know we're guaranteed 1 on Sunday. That's
Mhm.
the deal to get into the tournament. But we might play 3 to win the championship.
Yeah.
How, and that might not be that dissimilar to a softball tournament or a baseball tournament. Tell me how in the world those guys can play that many, or do they play that many football games in a tournament?
Yeah, what is the traditional?
Well, I'll tell you,
tournament
not even just like travel ball, like just like youth tournaments, or like, so like, and I'll use Derby City again as a prime example. They do a preseason tournament every year. I think it's called Light Up Louisville, which is one of their major fundraising for like the whole organization.
Mm-hmm.
That trickles down. You try to disperse the funds, evenly like they should. Preseason tournaments can go from 10 a.m. to 6, anywhere from 6, 9 o'clock at night, and or sometimes later. You're talking nonstop. Almost like a round robin style, because it's game after game after game.
Okay.
You got winners brackets, you got losers brackets.
So forget about the fact
it's a big deal.
Forget about the fact that it's a lot of hitting, a lot of energy. They may play 3-4 games on a 3-4 day stretch, correct?
Or even just in one day.
Oh wow!
See, I was totally oblivious to that.
I had no idea.
You got to think about that. And sometimes you'll play 3 games and not even make it to the championship, depending on how many teams are in the tournament.
So, I doubt a high school player could do that. That's a lot of that's taxing on the body. And
I'm just being like, if they play a lot, it can be, sometimes you don't play as much like that, but there's that chance where you can,
well,
and you do.
tell me too,
Yeah.
the what little I know, the people that I know that played at super high level high school, maybe they weren't so much two-way players, but they might have been on special teams or something. But some high schools and definitely middle school ball around our area, you are a two-way player in some cases, right?
I feel like you need to be.
Well,
Bobby one-dimensional.
So not only are you a two-way player, you're playing 3 or 4 games in a day.
So are we talking these 6, 7, 8-year-olds are playing 3, 4 games on a given day? Is that what I'm hearing?
Some cases 2 to 3.
Okay.
Tournaments that I've been at,
Right.
when I was involved.
And I'm not saying it's
just
good or
the nature
bad.
of
I'm
the
just
beast.
trying to get my head wrapped around
Me
it.
too.
But what he was saying, like, two-way, you never want to be one-dimensional. It's like life. It's like what I do for a living. I do this football stuff. I'm also a licensed barber. I deliver for a living from my 9 to 5. Like, you cannot be one-dimensional in today's society.
Well,
Period.
I was
Sports or not.
I totally agree with you on that. But I was more thinking about the body and how
Yeah.
it recovers.
Oh, yeah,
Not that I
The
didn't
wear and tear.
not that I would disagree with two-way playing. I'm just saying I would be really, really
yeah, I
tired.
mean, are these teams
Nowadays,
stacked with a lot of players?
Like,
some
how
are,
many
some
how
aren't.
many kids are on a typical team?
Anywhere from youth level, anywhere from 18 to 23 to 26. I think the most I've ever seen on a young youth team is like in the low 30s.
And now, granted, kids are resilient and they're going to play just to hopefully have fun. But there's a competitive aspect.
Now the travel, like if you want to be successful, if you have less than like 20, those guys, those young kids, boys, girls, because girls play football now too, so you have to include them.
Right.
If you have less than 20 boys or girls on a travel team, they're straight dogs. Those are the cream. That have to be some of the cream of the crop if you want to survive.
Hey, well, let's do this. We got to take a break.
Sure.
If you have any questions, we got some text popping in on the Pitching Performance Lab text line, 502-437-9680, 502-437-9680. Make sure to get a text in. We're going to come right back with Cory Bosemer, and we're going to talk more football here in a second, but we got to take a break, and we'll be right back.
What do you think, guys?
Awesome, man.
I love that.
Hey, you know how I do stuff, I wing it. I don't prepare nothing.
This is what we do too. So the topics.
I mean, I prepare, but
The questions just come to us because if say I have a son that's about that age, and he doesn't really do the football thing, but he's like, Dad, I think I might want to play. These would be the questions that I'd be asking someone like you. So I guess next, John, don't you think it's okay? So you've been listening to our show for the first
want to meet that guy.
It's awesome.
That voice is amazing.
This is your host, John Bennett, with my fearless co-host, Russ McCubbins. Russ, have you always been fearless?
Yes.
What about on the golf course?
I agree with that.
What about on the golf course?
Well, as Russ comes in dressed like he's just got done playing 18,
Right.
Russ has always been a good. He's good at everything for the most part. Maybe not be great sometimes, but he's pretty good at a lot of things. But he's pretty humble and wouldn't say that himself. But we've got myself and Russ McCubbins here. And we've got Cory Bosemer, one of the football gurus in the region of Louisville that is helping Russ and I understand.
I don't know about guru. I just know my stuff.
All right, there you go. That's a guru.
I guess.
So Cory's helping us understand the travel football climate in this region, because Russ and I really don't have much to offer in that regard. But that's okay. That's why there's folks like yourself, and thank you for taking time to come out today.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
We had some text roll in on the PPL text line, 502-437-9680, 502-437-9680, Pitching Performance Lab text line. This guy's down in Lexington doing phenomenal things. Cory, question for you.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on the 7v7 stuff at the high school and collegiate level?
It's got its yeses and its nos. Like, so for me, it's amazing because you get extra work. Like, as a coach, you don't want your players, your boys or girls that are on the team, to be stagnant, just like life. You got to keep things going. You got to keep moving. You got to keep the motion, keep pumping. So you want your kids to do stuff. Like, a lot of times I tell people, depending on positions they play, like, if you're a lineman, wrestle. You'd be amazed how much wrestling helps linemen.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
If you're a DB, an FS, a SS, a CB, or a receiver, run track, do cross country.
You know, we talk about all the sports now are a year long, and there's always training involved with each sport. On the baseball side, it's throwing programs, it's weightlifting, it's hitting constantly. On the softball side, very similar. Basketball, you're always playing, but on football, those skill positions, as well as the line. I say all the positions are skill positions. But how do you improve after the season? Because you're really not playing football at that level in the spring.
It's like you said, like the pre stuff is like 7-on-7s. Now the downside to it is you're at a higher, greater risk of injury. But to combat that, it's just like life. And I know that sounds cliche, but everything falls back to life. You're at a risk for everything. Mm-hmm. I could walk out here and fall and hit my face and seriously hurt myself.
On the 7v7, like, how does that set up offense versus defense?
So, like, that's more or less like, there's linemen there sometimes, but it's like,
it's the 9-line guys.
It's more like for your skill positions, your receivers, your tight ends, your running backs, your quarterbacks, and your defensive skill position players. It's more like I said, a 7-on-7. On the downside of that, I'll use Max Gainey as prime example. One of the greatest youth talents to come out the city of Louisville in a long time, who is the son of a good football player from the University of Louisville, from how I know him, Burger Cory Gainey. Max is a junior now, and he missed like the first 6-7 games of this year due to an injury at a 7-on-7 game. So there's that combatantness part of my French. I think that's the word I'm looking for to the people that'll say something negative about 7-on-7, the higher risk of injury. But again, everything is a risk.
We can walk outside, get hit by a
That's
car.
what I'm saying. But like, literally, everything's a risk.
The opportunities that present themselves, for example, Bellarmine has a 7v7 team.
Former DeSales guy, Harold Davis, great, amazing man.
The DeSales alumnus has to get his DeSales.
What year did you graduate?
2003.
Go Colts, right? But the 7v7, there's opportunity out there, and there's schools,
major. You can be seen now, though.
Schools like Bellarmine and other schools are providing those opportunities. So
absolutely,
you can only imagine it's going to continue to grow, which is a cool thing, right? Give these kids opportunities. And
another positive outlet. That's why I like it.
It does seem to be offense related, though, correct? Is that the gist?
Yeah, it's offense, but it's also defensive related too, because the offensive guys can't go against themselves. I'm not saying that you're saying that, but I'm just saying it for the masses out there. So it's another way too for the defensive guys, if you're free safety, strong safety, cornerback, defensive back, to get shine and get practice too.
So I reached out to one of the other football folks in this region. Corey Taylor's involved with Indy Select.
Love that man. That man's a good dude right there. Trinity guy, played in the
We won't hold that against him.
NFL Europe League. Got some records at Georgetown, and he's a baller.
He's been all over. He's been doing some good things over there in Middletown at his facility, turning out a lot of great athletes and helping them train to get bigger, stronger, faster. But he's involved with Indy Select South, and you can check them out at indyselectacademy.com/south. They got some tryouts coming up here, December the 19th from 6 to 8. It looks like for the 14, 15, and 18 U's. That's going to be over in New Albany at the Silver Street Indoor Complex. And if you haven't been to that complex, it is definitely a jewel in the rough. I say rough. It's a phenomenal facility. There's no rough. It's beautiful over there.
Are you knocking Indiana, John?
No, that's why I took it back.
Easy there.
That's why I took it back, even though I'm a Kentucky boy now. It's okay.
Corey, I'm not from Indiana, but I've now officially lived in Indiana longer than Kentucky. So
You were born to be a Hoosier.
I have to say, I'm officially a Hoosier.
So all that said, check out the indyselectacademy.com/south.
They got 30 seconds on Corey real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So anybody that's heard Mr. John talk about Corey Taylor, I'll give another 25 seconds on it. I would send my kids to Corey. Just like you said, you send your kids to Corey. Corey's one of those guys that's in it for the right reasons. And it's hard to decipher those people. But my personal, I'll say it, it's worth it. Corey's an honest person. He'll tell you.
And that means a lot
can
because
trust
there's a lot of options out there today, and parents don't know
sure.
what they don't know. And we were talking about it last week with Jay, or a couple weeks ago with Mr. Sword. And parents talk, and that's a good thing, right? You want your kids to be around good people
Absolutely.
that are doing it for the right reasons.
For sure.
And it's great to hear you vouch for Corey and the good things he's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
His
He's
track-
got this for me. He's a good man.
His track record speaks for itself.
It does.
He's got a lot of good things going. But I mentioned all that. He is involved with that 7v7. There's some trials happening. Check it out online for more information. From what he's telling me, they're one of 32 teams sponsored by Adidas in the country, and their 12U finished number 2 in the country, which that's pretty cool. Good things happening in this region.
Absolutely.
I'd say Louisville, but it sounds like it's an Indy, Louisville, Lexington kind of vibe.
It's like a combination more or
Yeah.
less.
Check it out. Check us out at the PPL text line, 502-437-9680. They continue to roll in. And of course, we always get the daddy ball question. On the text line.
I love this subject.
How much, well,
I'm ready.
we talk about it.
I'm ready.
We talk about it a little bit. In the football scene, do you see a lot of daddy ball taking place?
Yes.
And in the baseball world, daddy ball, I'm being hypothetical here, but hey, you're playing shortstop and you're hitting third. In the football world, is it, hey, my kid's the quarterback, or what does that look like?
In a lot of cases, yes.
Okay.
To me, where daddy ball, there's nothing wrong with daddy ball. Where daddy ball gets bad is when the dads coach their kids like they're their kids. In order for daddy ball to be successful, no matter what sport it is, it could be lacrosse, coach your kids like they're not your kids. Because from the outside looking in, when you coach your kids like they're not your kids, that shows the other kids that you're in it for the right reasons, that you care about them too just as much, and it shows positive things for the other parents.
And you have to be careful with that, because we see it, there are times where you might be harder because you don't want to have that label.
Yeah, it's a tough balance to find.
Well, and one of the other knocks truly is not just necessarily the way that dad, in air quotes, right, the dad would teach
for sure.
coach, but also this with team sports.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get away with it on a baseball field with 9 players. Football field, obviously, more than that. But it's the dad putting his kid in the wrong position.
That happens a lot.
So that, like, there's daddy ball, like, my gosh, 95% of all, say, 10 and under, 12 and under teams are coached by people that are dads, because that they're invested.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully they've played a little bit, say high school level ball, where they have some knowledge of some X's and O's that they can pass on.
See, that's another problem too, and I'm not trying to interject you at all, but it goes from like youth and up right before high school. Like a lot of the times, like some people that are coaching have zero experience in the sport of football. But that's a downside. But the flip side, which is a positive side of that, is these kids, especially in the city of Louisville, when it comes to youth ages, they need just positive male interaction. Period.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, right? There's a lot of
You know what I'm
scenarios
saying?
where
Like you really need just that positive male.
And part of what we're trying to do is, help parents navigate this little world, but also too, as a coach, I'm always looking for opportunities to have my players step up into leadership roles. And sometimes that encouragement is not just for players, it's for parents too. If you're a parent and you have experience playing at the high school level, let's say, it doesn't matter if you were a starter or not. It doesn't matter if you played college ball or not. You know a little bit about those rooms where you're sitting in there with the offense or the defense, and we're up on a chalkboard and we're X's and O's up there, and you know a little bit about what this is. You may not think you do, but you probably do. Maybe you need to step up a little bit and ask to be an assistant coach on your kids' teams. You might find, as I did, and John did too, you go into it thinking, well, I'll just help. 2 weeks later, you're running the show.
That's usually what happens. But a lot of times, just to kind of react to what you were saying, like issues like when I used to go to a lot of youth games, I don't go as much as anymore. I tend to do college and high school. That like you hear people talk about how great they were back in the day. Oh, I did this and that. Why ain't you out there helping? Why ain't you doing something?
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
Why not put your knowledge to good use? Give back because somebody gave back to you.
What about let's change gears for a second.
Okay.
The travel ball scene for a lot of folks is part of the journey to get that scholarship,
Yes.
right? In certain sports, metrics are a big deal. Baseball's, there are certain metrics, softball, basketball, etc. What are some of the big things that recruiters are looking for on the football side of the house as it pertains to metrics? What does that look like? What if I'm a college coach and I've got a list of kids to go look at? What are some things that pique my interest around? Hey, I'm going to go here, here, and here because they have this, this, and this.
As far as metrics, we talked off air, through text too, even going back to last week, like 40 is a big deal no matter the position. Like you have to have a certain amount of speed.
Okay, so in the baseball world, a 60-yard dash, sub-7, 60 is a big deal. What is that number on the football side of the house? And I'm sure it varies per position, but if I'm a running back and I'm running the 40-yard dash, what do I need to get into to begin getting looks at the Division I level?
If you want to stand out immediately, obviously, you want the 4.3, but like if you're at the running back, you want to be no higher than like a 4.7.
Okay.
I'll say 4.7, a little past 4.7. Anything past that, you might get offers, but you're not going to get what you want.
Is the same true on the receiver side of the house?
Oh, it's more prevalent. The speed is more prevalent there. Those positions, because those, like we were talking earlier, those are more skill positions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, if you're a receiver, do cross country, do that stuff to help gain your speed, to help maintain your speed. If you have the speed, speed is very important in that position for sure.
All right. So obviously the 40-yard dash is a big deal, and you want to do as good as you can. What are some other areas where you can measure things and college coaches can look and see, hey, he does this well, and I can see because of this?
I tell you, that's just from what people have told me via Twitter and talking on the phone. They pay attention to how players react to when something doesn't go their way.
So that's not a measurable piece
There's
there, but I hear what you're saying.
And there's objectivity, right?
That's what I'm saying.
But that's true in all the sports, and I think college coaches, I don't think.
It's
we
a
know.
measure, it's a metric, but not in the sense of the metrics that you're talking about, like 40-yard dash or metrics used in baseball. But coaches really pay attention to that stuff.
But on paper, the get noticed part first, then show interest, go see player, then watch player.
Yes, yes. So you know, depending on the position, you know, height matters, wingspan matters, weight matters, just like
There
in
you go.
baseball and
That's
stuff
the
like
kind of
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So like,
Jump, but like box jump or whatever. Is that such a thing that you would look at? Or
Well, do they have
me personally, I would.
So the combine. So we know about the NFL combines, for
Correct,
example.
yeah.
On the baseball side, softball side, there's showcases, right? And these showcases allow kids to go out there and do their thing, and they get measured. On the football side, on these combines.
Now there is showcases. Just
All right, tell us more about the showcases where these youth players are trying to get looks from the college coaches.
so what they do is, you know, they do the like cone drills,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 5-4-5 or 5-2-5 cone huddle drills. They do ropes, tires, 40-yard dashes.
So are all those exercises pretty standard so these players can train outside of that and hey, I'm doing this every day or every other day. So in preparation for the showcase, they're
Well,
working
I
on
mean,
that.
honestly, too, I mean, for sure, of course. And one thing, too, that I've noticed, like a lot of some trainers, not all, some trainers and just some players, like to help, if you're a running back or a receiver or defensive player, they do a lot of like drills with like tennis balls.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've watched a video where a player will literally stand looking right at John, but even though I can see Russ through my peripherals, like tennis ball, like one right
Yeah,
one way after another. That's not as common, but it's getting more common.
A football wide receiver, the talent levels there and the catches they're making today versus 20, 30, 40 years ago.
It's not even fair.
It's
Well,
really ridiculous how good they are.
Going back to some of our previous guests, one of the questions we've always asked them is,
Yes.
when we were younger,
Yeah.
a year, roughly 10, 12 years younger than us, and we're going to be 50, so we know about how old you are.
Book of Dano.
When we were playing, as youths, when we were youths, the travel ball really was not as prevalent. It was like all-stars or, teams like that. So has this travel ball world in the last 25 years or so, what benefits have you seen? When we speak to some of our guests, they say, oh, well, I don't know necessarily if the very best, they're always going to be the very best, but it's that next level or the level below that that's come up in talent because of travel.
Well, before you answer that, we're going to cut to a commercial here because we're running out on time. But when we get back, let's dive into that. Okay, Corey?
Absolutely. That's cool.
You got John Bennett and Russ McCubbins on the Travel Ball Show. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
I was really, oh.
I've been drinking this tea. I warm it up. I put honey in it, and then put it here. Keeps my voice going.
Right where it needs to be. I gotta beat that guy. It's like EA Sports.
You got John Bennett and Russ McCubbins here. Text into the PPL text line, 502-437-9680. We got about 6 minutes left with our guest, Mr. Cory Bosemer, curator of Kentucky, or Football of Kentucky, on the social media side. Check him out on Facebook. But Russ, let's continue that question you had.
Yeah, what was the question?
So, like I said, in previous guests that have come in various
Yeah.
sports, basketball, baseball, we've asked them, in your opinion, what improvements has travel sports, their sport, done over the last couple decades, as opposed to, like before we had travel sports? Are the players really that much better now? Just speak to what you've seen in that.
Well, I mean, obviously, in certain aspects they are, because as time evolves, there's better stuff for you to get better. Like the stuff that they got.
Technology and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Training.
Yeah.
I think the training aspect is
It's major.
big.
Have you seen the best players really get that much better, or is it really like the next tier player that's really elevated their game because of instruction or training or
No,
X's and O's?
training, yeah. Even like the training's better, like equipment that you can use is better, and just nowadays, like kids really want some stuff. So like they're starting to slowly but surely do stuff on their own, not be taught, not have to be told what to do.
Well, when
You gotta have a sense of direction, so you need somebody above you, obviously. And I'm not saying that, but like there's kids that are really out there wanting to learn.
we didn't take, John, did you take instruction until you were in high school?
No, I mean,
I didn't
I didn't have a hitting coach
My
or,
dad was my guy.
back when we went to school, lifting weights on the
But that's still
baseball
some
side
form of
was frowned upon.
instruction though, so either way, you're.
Well, he was definitely special, knew what he was talking about, but not every kid had that.
Right.
So, those kids that didn't have that or don't have that now, they can reach out. and
So
get
the
that.
kids that didn't have that, as far as the dad goes, that brings me to my next point as far as how good travel ball can be for some kids that aren't as athletic as the Jimmys and Joes, whatever. Like for the kids that aren't athletic, it's an experience of a lifetime that they won't forget. It's a positive moment that they can remember 6 years down the road when they're having a bad day. Like, damn, part of my French. Like, darn, I had
It's
that.
radio, man.
Well, I know, sorry. It wasn't a bad word, but my bad. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
professional. But that gives them moments
So
of
to get to
positivity.
play, they get to play on a really cool
Experience of a lifetime,
facility
yeah,
that they never would
for
have
sure.
otherwise. Sure.
Because a lot of times, once you get past the youth ball, it's the last time kids will ever play football.
Unless you're going to play at the next level, and then you get to
That's what I'm saying.
dive into the.
So it really has its positive moments for the kids that aren't as talented as some.
We
would say.
we all know that there's negatives to travel sports, but we
No,
know
definitely
they're
is.
there. And we definitely want to try to improve on those, point them out, improve on them. But we got to make sure that people know that the positives very much outweigh the negatives. And,
Oh, definitely. They definitely do.
and
For
it's
sure.
it's almost kind of in a way, not to quote Ricky Bobby, if he ain't first, you're last. It's not really that. It's more like if you're not getting better, you might be getting worse because everybody else is getting better, and you got to keep up.
You kind of remind me of Ricky Bobby a little bit.
I'm probably not gonna,
He did what, if I'm not mistaken, what did he like drinking tea in the movie? Because he's drinking tea now. I'm just saying.
No, you're thinking of Duck Dynasty. He's the guy
Oh,
drinking tea
okay,
over
okay.
here. Grandpa Si, or whatever his name was.
Uncle Si, Uncle Si.
He kind of looks like a Ricky Bobby.
if I let my beard go like those guys,
Which Jesus do you like best? Do you like the baby Jesus?
tuxedo t-shirt.
I may never walk again in my life.
Oh my gosh. We're coming up on the end of the show, and let's circle back, boys, and focus. Sometimes it's hard to do that.
Hey, when you're having a good time, you have a good time.
We are having a good time, but we talk about all youth sports hopefully can lead to playing for a long time if that's what the kid wants. And we've seen some things happen in the last couple of weeks. For example, Coach Prime has landed the Colorado job, and you talk about
I love what he's doing.
a recruiting whirlwind. There's kids decommitting, recommitting, moving around, and one of the things that I saw that I was impressed with, and I think it applies not only just in the football world, but business world and life in general. He was pretty transparent with the team when he took over and said,
I loved every word.
he's bringing his own folks. So,
And he's coming.
So
I'm bringing Louis.
his bags are packed and he's bringing Louis. So I like that because at least you know, right? But that's okay.
But I mean, at that age though, John, like they're young, but those are men.
Those are grown
If,
men.
if you can handle a coach talking to you like that professionally and nicely, you're not going to get far.
I think he got a little flack on social, but I think that the majority of folks appreciated what he did. I'm sure his team, at least they know, right? If there's a quarterback coming in and I'm number 2 or 3 on the depth chart, guess what? I've either got to work hard or I've got to jump in the transfer portal.
That's
Sooner than later.
We could honestly talk about that for a whole nother show. Like you almost like if you're there and you can stay, just stay, because I'm telling you, grass ain't always greener. Look at the numbers of the transfer portal. It is insane. It is so saturated. You can't even move.
But you can't be afraid of competition. Some kids are transfer portaling because the scenario is not good for them. Others are afraid of competition, and I in that regard, I'm anti jumping around.
Yeah, and looking, not the easy way out, but it is the easy way out in a sense, right? Hey, it's a little hard over here. I'm going to jump in the portal and find another place.
But here's the thing, and Nick Saban said it best. If you always find something different when it gets hard where you're at, how can anybody trust you?
I like
He said something like that, but it's true.
Yeah, he does a good job with that stuff. But no, that is interesting seeing what he's doing, and I'm a fan of what he's doing. I think there's a lot of things happening. We got Coach Braum that is traveling the country, California, Florida. Last night I heard Diener talking this morning about he was hanging out with Luther Campbell last night.
He actually was.
That's kind of cool from back in our days.
Jeff gets
He
it.
took him out to dinner.
He gets it.
Jeff gets it, and so he's getting some of those kids and kids that are decommitting, recommitting, transfer portal kids, and the opportunity is there to compete sooner than later versus pre-transfer portal.
Right? I like what Jeff's already doing is he's starting to get real top talent from the state to come home. That's what, from my perspective, from the outside looking in, that's kind of what Louisville has lacked the last several years, is getting the talent from the state of Kentucky or the city of Louisville to stay.
Well, I think
Jeff's working on that.
And he's working on it pretty hard, and it's going to be exciting to see what next season looks like. But for the first week, it's been a week to the day.
It's been fun.
A lot's happened, and we're going in the right direction. Heck, we got the U of L women's volleyball team playing tonight in the Final Four for volleyball. So make sure you check.
Yes.
Is that at
Check.
home?
That's in Omaha, Nebraska,
Wow.
9:30 on either ESPN2 or ESPNU, I believe. But cheer on the Cards. We got those things happening. We got men's basketball. Big win last night. Let's get many more coming off the snide. Get some more coming up here soon and get into carry that momentum into a winning rhythm. Parting comments, Cory. What do you got?
Tomorrow afternoon about 4:30, I will be interviewing the head coach of Christian Academy Louisville, Hunter Cantwell, former Louisville quarterback. And then Saturday morning, about 10 o'clock, I will be interviewing Bullet East head coach Keaton Kendrick.
Make sure you follow him on Facebook at Football of Kentucky DBA. This is John Bennett and Russ McCovern's coming to you. Next week, we're going to have some fun. We're talking baseball again next week. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for the guest, and we appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Thought it went well.